Today I'm going to show you guys how to make your own badge to raise awareness for the Society for the Promotion of Elfish Welfare, known affectionately by some as S.P.E.W. This would be an excellent addition to a Hermione Granger Halloween costume like this. I used to have her hair too. Or, you know, general everyday nerd wear. Let's get started. Since Hermione knit hats and socks for the house elves in the books, I wanted to do a tiny piece of knitting for this project. If you want to skip this part, you can use a piece of fabric instead, just cut it into the same shape. I've linked to some knitting tutorials in the video description if you need them. Start off with a slip knot with yellow yarn and put it onto your knitting needle, then cast on 6 more stitches for 7 total. I'm using the long tail cast on, but feel free to use another if you'd like. Once you have your 7 stitches, knit across the whole first row. I'm going to write this knitting pattern on the screen and in the video description in case you'd prefer to read it. For the second row, you're going to purl across. We're alternating knit and purl rows to create stockinette stitch. Row 3 is a knit row. Purl for row 4. And knit for row 5. Now we'll start decreasing at the beginning and end of each row. So for row 6, purl 2 stitches together, then purl normally until you have 2 stitches left, and then purl those 2 together as well. So now you should have 5 stitches. For row 7, knit the first 2 stitches together, knit the next stitch normally, then knit the last 2 together. And now we're running out of stitches, so for row 8, purl 2 together, then purl the remaining stitch normally. And for the last row, knit the 2 stitches together. Yay, we did it! Trim the end, then remove your needle and put the yarn through the loop to finish it up. Start to weave in your ends so that they stick out on the wrong side of the knitting and then trim them. When you're done, it should look like this. Place your tiny piece of knitting on some red felt and cut around it with a bit of a border, making an arrow or an upside-down house shape. Thread some red embroidery floss onto an embroidery needle and tie a big knot at the end. Then sew the piece of knitting onto the felt. I am using whip stitch for this, and if you need a little bit of help with your hand sewing, you can check the video description for sewing tutorials for all of the stitches that I'm using in this tutorial. In the Harry Potter books, Hermione made these badges herself, so I wanted this badge to look super handmade, so your stitches do not have to be perfect. Once you get all the way around, flip to the back and tie a knot by grabbing a stitch with your needle, then pulling your needle through the loop in your embroidery floss. Once it's all secure, trim the excess. Now I'm cutting out a tiny heart shape out of the red felt. I drew it on some paper first just to make sure I get it right, and then I used that as a template. Next, sew that heart to the badge with some yellow embroidery floss. When you're done, tie a knot on the back and trim off the excess floss like we did before. Then, if you need to, take your scissors and clean up the edges of the red felt border. I decided that I wanted mine to be a little bit closer to the knitting. Now we'll be making a circle shape to hang below the arrow shape. I found this thing from my sewing machine and a spool of thread to use as templates, and then I cut out a slightly larger yellow circle of felt, and then a slightly smaller circle out of red felt. This is what they look like when they are stacked on top of each other, and this is what they will look like later when they are attached to the other part of the badge. Take a pretty long piece of yellow embroidery floss, knot the end, and sew the 2 circles together with whip stitch around the edge of the smaller circle. As you make your way around the circle, make sure that all of your stitches are evenly spaced apart and also that they are all pointing towards the middle of the circle. When you get all the way around, don't knot your thread just yet. We will be using it to embroider the letters S.P.E.W. I tried to mark where I wanted the letters with a disappearing ink marker, and what do you know? They disappeared. Oh well. Slowly and carefully backstitch your letters onto the badge. You may want to practice this on a scrap piece of fabric first. Use a variety of stitch lengths to make curves and straight lines, and don't be afraid. You can always pull out any stitches you don't like and start again if you need to. Also, it can be a little messy, it's not a big deal. Just try to get the letters to fit properly and it'll be great. Once your letters are done, go back and add 4 periods, one between each letter, using French knot stitches. I used to be pretty terrible at these, but I practiced them a lot and now I love them. Tie a knot on the back when you're done and trim off the extra floss. And then it should look like this. To attach the 2 pieces, knot some yellow floss and poke your needle up through the point of your arrow, not too close to the edge. Then put the needle down into the top of the circle piece. Don't pull it too tightly just yet. Come back up through the back of the point and then back down into the top of the circle. Keep doing this until your circle piece will hang securely, then tie a knot on the back to secure it. Trim off your excess and you are almost done. To finish up, sew or glue a safety pin with a flat back onto the back of the badge. I sewed mine on with regular sewing thread. Then you are all done! Pin it to your Gryffindor robes and you'll have a unique piece of the Harry Potter books that the films decided to leave out. Now that you're equipped with your own handmade S.P.E.W badge, you're ready to take on a world of injustice and do your part to fix it, just like Hermione Granger. Fortunately for the Hermione Granger and all of us, there is a great organization called the Harry Potter Alliance, which is like a Dumbledore's army for the real world. Right now they're running their yearly fundraiser, Equality for the Win, which allows them to keep decreasing world suck along with Harry Potter fans, nerd fighters, Whovians, brown coats, and more. I actually donated one of the perks. It's the first single from my new band with flying colors. For more information on the HPA, perks, and Equality for the Win, visit equalityforthewin.org. Remember, if you end up making one of these badges or any of my crafts yourself, send me a photo on Twitter @LaurenMyrtle and I may feature it in a future video. Thanks for watching and I'll see you soon!